In this video we'll look at the front of the vehicle and see if we can add in some detail around the lights, grille and front bumper. So as you can see here, we've got quite a lot of work to do here around the front of the vehicle, and if we come back to our reference image you can sort of see where we need to add in this detail. We want to try and create this lip across the top of the hood, and then I'll probably wrap that round to create the top of the bumper and then build that geometry up here and here, and we'll worry about the lights separately and see if we can add in some extra detail here. So I'm keeping this up the whole time that I'm working on this and just sort of assessing the situation from all different angles. You can see how the front bumper comes out there, and we can also see in this front view here. At this point, because we're working right down the other end of the vehicle, it's very hard to see the image plane because it's going through all this geometry. So if we bring it forward to about here, it becomes much easier to see exactly what we're working with, and we can line things up a lot better from there. So let's start to cut in some detail here, perhaps realigning these vertices as we go. I actually need to change my mode here to world, and we can see that Z is the axis we're looking to align in. I'll hide that again, give ourselves some more room, so I'll align that in Z, aligns it up and down, and bring that down to roughly where the top portion of that bumper is. And again, we've got some slight discrepancy here, so I'm probably going to trust the front view more than I trust the side view as far as height goes. Bring this back and probably align this to the crease that we have there, where we actually have the separation between the panels, this line here. And if you were going to model this in much higher detail, then you could actually separate the mesh at that crease, but that probably won't be necessary as we're going to be running a slightly lower level of detail. So at this point I need to start introducing some more geometry, and I think what I'll do actually is to start with bring this up here, and this is going to form where the lower portion of that bumper starts to come in. So that's going to be about here. We need to bring this across. So just like before when we were modeling the rest of the vehicle, everything has to align to something, at least initially when you're doing this. So let's bring these up. Again, we'll align those to Z. Bring that up, and this is going to form the lower section of the bumper. And again, trust that front view more than the other view for the time being. And what I'll do is I'll bring this out, and then that's going to form that front shape, so we can start to tweak it in this view as well. Bring these in a little bit. Back. Okay, so you can definitely see where we start to need more detail here. So what I think I'll do is, for the time being, we'll add in a cut, and I'm going to cut this top portion, but actually I'm not going to cut it in this view because it can be very deceptive when you're looking down the length of the vehicle. So we'll just cut this little rim or lip around the top here, and at this point it's going to get a little wider. Let's try that one again. Here, down to here. Okay, so I'm going to do something rather drastic right now just to see how this is going to start looking. So let's go into face mode, and I'm going to grab these faces here, frame in on those. So for the time being, I'm just going to delete these out. That creates that shell at the front. And if we come and bring this around here, we can see that I'm removing this area where the lights and the grill are. We can actually build that with some separate geometry later. And so we're going to need to do a cut here, and we can start to adjust as necessary. So I'm quickly going to clean this up and just tweak the points and align them, make sure everything is aligned, and then we'll come back. Okay, so I made a few small adjustments here just to see that that's looking a little more accurate. So now we can come in and we can start to rough out this front shape here. We're going to definitely need to add in some more detail to do that. So let's grab our cut tool again. Let's try and cut this lip in here, and if we come back to this, you can actually see that it doesn't go all the way back. It's actually this, what I'm assuming is an air intake here. So we'll need to cut that in and back, but leave this front area here. So we'll just bear that in mind. Again, I'm looking at that reference imagery as I do this. So what I'll probably do, again from the front view, is cut from here out to here. And then again we can take all of these and we can align them in Z. And then we'll just start to bring these up and out. So right now I've got this in the corner for that cutaway. I'm not entirely sure that's correct. Actually, it's pretty close. So let's bring this out just a bit. Probably to here. And this one is where the lip comes down. And I might just try grabbing these ones here. And again, we'll align those in Z. Got to make sure not to grab the ones behind, so I'm going to undo that and align them in Z. So these want to be about here. Let's actually grab all of these. Okay, that's a little better. So what we can start to think about doing now is cutting in some detail for this front lip that juts out there. So I'll grab the cut tool, and it comes right back from here. So I'm going to cut from here right out to the, let's try that again, here to here. I'm not too worried about which view I do this in, because I'm just going to grab all of these and again just align them and bring them down. I didn't cut right to the back there because that's actually just that temporary inner portion of that wheel well. So let's check this in our other view. So that marks the lower portion. And we're actually going to need another one of these because we have a slight bevel inside there. So again, we'll grab the cut tool and I'll just cut that up there, align them like that. And then just for the time being, what I'll do is grab these and I think I'm just going to bring them out a bit just so I can get a bit of separation there. So let's come out of X-ray mode. Let's see what we've got. Roll those forward. We'll bring these out a bit. Yeah, these need a little bit of work, I think. So let's confirm these from the top view. And looking at this shape, you can see it really just kind of curves around quite nicely there. So we want to try and mimic that curve. But the blueprints are incredibly blurry about here, so there's going to be some guesswork involved. Okay, we can clean this up more when we've really better defined the geometry and what it's going to look like. But for now, I'm just going to kind of rough it in place. So let's take a look at this guy here. Bring him forward a bit. You have to kind of try and resist the temptation to tweak too early, otherwise you can end up just wasting time. Let's refer back to our reference. Okay, so this doesn't continue all the way around the front. We're going to have to cut this at some point. So let's see where we're going to cut that. That would be under here. Let's bring these in till they snap. Okay. And remember, we're trusting the front view and the height. So what I think I might do is just do one more cut across the front. And I can clean this up later, but I'll cut this about here. And the reason I've done that is so that I can plan the lower edge of this lip under here. Too many selected. So you can see how it's really just a question of being very careful to move around the geometry and sort of assess, block everything out and gradually start to refine. And you can see how I've actually got the shape of that wrong there as it comes down. We need to bring all of these in, so we'll do that shortly. For now though, we can actually grab these areas here that need to be removed and we can just get rid of those. And from the front, we can essentially do the same thing with these. Just delete those out. And then we've sort of roughed out that front shell with these cutouts here. We can build those in with separate geometry later. So that's a start on that front bumper. I'm going to start to refine these now and just tweak these points and realign everything with my blueprints, and then we'll catch up again. So this is where we are now after having done some tweaking. You can kind of see I cleaned up this area down here and sort of refined the points so that they lined up more or less in each view. Again, not worrying too much until we're really ready to actually start detailing this. But for now what I can see is that I need to come in and look at this top lip here, this top portion of the bumper. You can see it's actually kind of smooth and it rounds off. So let's add in a little more detail, because right now ours is quite sharp, and we can do that just by cutting in. We can actually extend this round, being sure to keep everything quads. So we'll come to here, and then we'll cut out from here and start trying to form some geometry that can be used for that top curvature. something like this. I keep looking at my reference. There's going to be a careful balance between keeping it in the right place. Now, at this point, you could try and slide this back and forward manually using, just using the free transform. But what you can do is actually, let's bring back our toolbar, come to the snapping, turn that on, and if we right-click on that button, we can turn on edge segment, and now it's possible to actually see how I can drag up and down and it'll snap to that edge. So we can actually follow perfectly in and perfectly out and keep that straight line without causing too many sort of zigzagging effects. So I can sort of tweak these a little bit, bring these up. Bring that forward. I want it to get a little wider towards the front, but at the same time not too wide. Okay. Resist the urge to tweak too much right now. So with that in place, let's turn snapping off. Let's just grab these and raise them up a little bit to kind of create that nice curved front. Come to here, and we'll just pop this up. Something like that for now. Again, being sure to look at the reference. You can see it has a slight tilt to it. So perhaps that's a little too much. And let's tweak this one a little bit too. Let's bring that up. Okay, so that's a start to the shell for the front. And of course what I can do is I can come in and I can start adding more detail around these corners to get them rounded off like they are in the actual vehicle. But before I get to that, what I think I'll do is actually start cutting in where these indicator lights are. So we can start to look at this and figure out the best way to do this. Now I think I want to be very sure to try and keep everything to quads. So I'll probably end up having to cut out to this section out here again. So let's cut from about here to here. And let's cut from here for now. I might end up changing this because I'm going to create a try in there. So let's cut out to the front here. Something like this. And then we're going to need to formulate this where the edge of this is. Now I could just pull these in, but I like the way that geometry is working there, and I'm aligning that with that cut section there. So let's do a swift loop and put it in roughly there. So now we've got at least a rough idea of this framework. Let's bring these up a little bit. Something like that. So if we come to the perspective view, you can see we've got this shape, and this needs tweaking for sure, but we've got this shape here, and we can actually grab these faces now. We can actually just do an extrude and push those in. So we'll grab the faces that make up this inner piece here, something like this. Now this is where it's going to get a little confusing, because the top portion actually just comes in and wraps up around the body, and the lower portion actually comes out towards the outer wheel well. So we'll probably have to do an extrude and then start doing some repair work to put it back. So we'll use our extrude settings and bring this back. I'm just doing this by eye, really. Something like that for now. And if we come back to our reference image, we can see that this actually sort of slants back and in. It doesn't really go straight back like that. So we can align that here. But what I'm going to do is actually make use of that snapping tool again. Make sure to grab it from the plane that we're trying to snap this along, which is going to be this YX plane, and then point it to where you want to snap it to. So there. So you can see that we've aligned in this direction more or less, and we brought that in, and we still got that nice same distance there. So let's look at the front. You can see this is kind of a mess. Again, we're trying to get this bit to curve round and up, and this bit to come out and then up. Okay, so let's check the alignment of this little cluster here. Let's bring that in a little bit. I'm going to grab these and use those to form this little lip here, so this kind of curves around to here, and find that on the blueprints. You can see that it's actually this angle here, and also in this view this angle here. So I need to bring these vertices out here. I'll use my snapping tool again, and I'm going to check them in multiple planes at once, multiple viewports at once I should say. So we'll grab the plane that we're moving in, and then I'm looking at this green box and I'm trying to match up roughly in all my views. Something like that is a fairly good start. In fact, I might bring out these ones just a little further to get that angle on there that we need in both of these views. So I'll bring this lower one out, something like this, to get that angle, match that up. And we'll try and do the same with this one here. Bring this out to about here. And then I'm just going to eye these ones, I think. Okay, so that's roughly the position of where that light needs to be. You can see it's lined up there, and it's not quite aligned in the other view, so let's see if we can tweak that. It's going to be one of those situations where we have to do the best we can to match the two views up together. But looking at my reference image, it looks like it actually is a little shallower here than it is here. So let's see what this looks like if I grab that top vertex and just pull this forward. We'll just do a little bit extreme right now. Okay, it's a little extreme, so let's just back it off a little bit. Something like that. And then we'll try and average out this one up here. Again, using snapping. Grab this plane, snap it along here. Try and average those two out. So I'm really just guessing here because I don't have a great view of that indicator area, But for now I think that'll work okay, and I can always find some better reference imagery close up on this. What I need to do though is fix this interior portion here where I've got the leftovers from this extrude. And what I could do is take the easy route and just do a target weld and just snap those into there to continue that geometry along. But then I'm going to build more tries in doing that. So I think what I'll actually do is sort of bring them in and roughly align them to keep those quads in there. Something like that. We can start to bring these pieces here up, because again, looking at that reference, that comes up, it doesn't just lay perfectly flat. We'll tweak it up just a little bit, something like that, and bring this up to match. Now I still need to refine this further. I'm still not quite happy with that angle there, because if we look, this line here cuts right here where we have this flat edge, this flat front, whereas in this model here you can see that it's actually joining on the inner piece. So we definitely need to refine that further. So I'm going to just be bold right now and cut out to there. And then what I think I'll do is do a target weld here, bring this back to here, and let's grab this here and start to bring this in. Now we're starting to get that angle, and it's joining to the correct position now. I'm definitely a little happier with that. And we're going to inadvertently add another try here. We don't really want to, but for the time being at least, I want to try and get that shape correct, so they're joining to the correct locations. So we've added in some tries, but I think we've got some slightly more accurate results from it. Start to bring this up a little bit. Okay, so it's not perfect. It definitely needs some work still, but I feel that we're making progress on this area here, which is good. So now, before I go ahead and detail this any further, what I need to do is really continue to block out the rest of the vehicle. So we've made a start on that front section, and now we can begin to move around to the rear and sort of do the same procedure to get that back end looking a little more fleshed out.